Lots of stuff going on. And we cover daily UFO news every day to let you know about the UFO stuff going on all around the world. And we have this incredible news correspondent who's with us every week. Ladies and gentlemen, help me give a warm welcome to Jason McClellan. Jason, how are you?
Good, thanks, bud. That was quite warm.
There's people clapping all over the place.
Hooray!
They're trying to drive and clap while they're listening to the podcast.
Well, I certainly hear it. Hello, Alejandro, and greetings to all of our listeners. This is your Open Minds News Brief for Monday, June 20th, 2011. And Alejandro, I share your enthusiasm for today's guest.
Yes.
And so I feel I must start off the news with a story about our wonderful guest today.
Great.
So, a Philadelphia reporter recently took a journalistic look into the paranormal. In an effort to understand the unexplainable, Steve Volk put his journalistic skills to use and spent 3 years researching paranormal phenomena from a variety of angles and sources, according to PhillyBurbs.com. And the result of his multi-year research are in his new book. As Alejandro mentioned, the book is Fringeology, How I Tried to Explain Away the Unexplainable and Couldn't. In a recent interview with Philly Post, Volk was asked about the percentage of things that are truly unexplainable. He responds by pointing to UFO studies that show how a low percentage of UFOs remain unidentified. And similar information was presented by someone we've had on the show before, also a journalist, Leslie Kean, author of UFOs, Generals, Pilots, and Government Officials Go on the Record. After a 10-year investigation, Kean concluded that 95% of all UFO sightings can be explained as ordinary phenomena, leaving 5% of the sightings unexplainable. Volk set out to gain a better understanding of paranormal topics. PhillyBurbs.com points out that Volk is no closer to having all the answers about the paranormal, but he's fine with that. Through his book, he hopes to spark discussion and debate, and hopes skeptics and believers will learn to listen and learn from each other. And I have not read the book. I'm actually really excited to read the book, and I can't wait for the interview.
Yeah, I haven't read the whole thing. I've read the UFO part, the introduction, and other pieces and parts. But I'm really excited to sit down, and I know I'm just going to sit down in one setting and read it to beginning to end. It's a great read. He's a great writer. It's a lot of fun, and I'm really excited about the book. It's great.
And I get excited when people do this. You know, journalists or other people happen to sort of casually look into paranormal-related topics, and they get hooked.
Yeah.
You know, they have a response they didn't expect to happen, and they just, it sort of overtakes them. They're, oh, wow, I didn't realize there was so much here.
And I was certainly like that. That's one of the reasons, I kind of relate to the book, because I was a journalism student when I really got into this stuff, and I didn't really put too much into it. But then, when I really started looking into it, it was like, holy moly, there's something here, Martha.
And with this with the UFO topic and any other topic, really, it's sort of refreshing when someone comes in with a fresh perspective and a truly sort of journalistic approach to it. Mm-hmm. They're coming in with a fresh set of eyes, no knowledge on the subject, and they're just looking at the facts that they can dig up.
Yeah. That's always great, and it's great to hear from you listeners, because sometimes we hear from the listeners who are like, I put much stake into this subject either, but I heard an interview with a guest of yours, and I've really gotten into it, and that's wonderful. I love to hear that.
Absolutely. Well, we've talked, not really a lot, but we've talked a little bit about SETI over the past few weeks. A recent budget deficit hampered the SETI Institute's effort to scan the skies for extraterrestrial frequencies, causing operations at their Allen Telescope Array in California to be suspended. Fortunately for SETI and other researchers, though, the search continues. While their Allen Telescope Array is inactive, SETI continues to operate. University of California, Berkeley astronomers recently announced a listening project in progress that involves pointing the Robert C. Byrd Green Bank Telescope in West Virginia at 86 planets that have been selected as worlds most likely to resemble Earth, with the hopes of detecting alien signals. The data collected from this project will be analyzed by a network of computers running SETI software called the SETI at Home project. But search efforts aren't isolated to the United States. Europe's Low Frequency Array, or LOFAR, came online last year and hopes to complement SETI's search for signals from that could point to signs of extraterrestrial life. TheWorld.org describes LOFAR as It consists of fields of antennas spread out over 5 European countries. And while many radio telescopes scan for signals at higher frequencies, LOFAR is designed to aim at the lower, noisier bands.
Mm-hmm.
So astronomers are working with LOFAR, hope that SETI can get back online completely soon, because they feel that their efforts work nicely with SETI's, because then they can cover more ground.
Mm-hmm.
Looking at larger frequency bands, more coverage, but still they acknowledge that it's sort of a crapshoot. But
Yeah. Yeah, I knew people would be coming to SETI's rescue. You know, people get excited about SETI all over the world. More so, unfortunately, than, you know, some of the grassroots kind of UFO investigations, which I think are a better investment. In fact, I think it was Bernard Hayes, but it was a well-known astronomer who said, you know, people who are actually investigating UFOs will probably find the smoking gun before we get a signal from somewhere. But it's interesting. It's always good that people are continuing to be interested in looking for ET.
well, and it's interesting how the SETI news, the news about their budget problems, it still is making headlines. I still see it reported as it's something fresh, something that just happened when it happened more than a month ago.
Right.
And, you know, this is just my thought, but I assume SETI is appealing for headlines because it's a scientific organization.
Mm-hmm.
There are other organizations looking for extraterrestrial life. I mean, NASA, almost every public university, but they have search for extraterrestrial intelligence in their name. That's what they are.
Yeah.
So I think when they see the science organization, and I think that's why it's still making headlines, because I think there are a lot of news organizations out there that had no idea there was an organization searching for extraterrestrial intelligence.
Probably. Yeah, I mean, it's just such old news to us, but you're probably right. There are probably people all over the place thinking, wow, there are actually scientists doing this?
Right. Well, as we've stated before, I certainly wish them luck and hope they get back to what they do. But again, I would like to see money going to other efforts, but they need money too.
You know what? I kind of get this image in my head of, you know, them getting a message and it says, we're right behind you. And they turn around and there's a UFO like Mars Attacks or something, this big silver.
I would
They
appreciate
should have
that
added
sense of
that
humor.
to Mars Attacks.
Write the writers.
We're right behind you. Yeah, Mars Attacks too.
Excellent. Well, New Zealand has proven itself to be quite the UFO hotspot, and lately the city of Rotorua seems to be inundated with UFO sightings. Witnesses have reported many UFOs in the sky above Rotorua lately. These UFOs have varied in appearance and have demonstrated various behaviors. The Daily Post has been publishing stories about the sightings, and these stories have resulted in additional witnesses sending in their own eyewitness accounts, photos, and videos to the Daily Post. In response to one of these videos, a reader suggested that the object in question could be the space shuttle, because at the time the video was taken, the space shuttle was re-entering the atmosphere. With most of these sightings that are reported, readers like to respond with their opinions of what the unknown aerial objects could be. The suggestions sometimes are plausible explanations, while other times they are far stretches by people trying to force an identification to make sense of something unknown. And I watched the video of this one particular object in the sky that one reader suggested could be the space shuttle. And it's certainly possible because it's moving pretty quickly through the sky. And I've seen the space shuttle in the sky, not re-entering, but when it was in space. And in space, it was moving quite fast. But this was supposedly when it was re-entering from a mission, burning through the sky. But just a month ago, there was another video from the same place. And the light just kind of sat there above the trees, and it moved a little bit one way and stayed there, and then moved back. And that is certainly not a space shuttle, but lots of different UFO sightings in this area. Like I said, different behaviors, different shapes, different movements.
It's interesting, too, from one city we keep hearing about this.
Right. And fortunately for them and for everybody, the local press seems to cover it quite a lot. Unfortunately
for us, it's hard to say the name of the town, and hopefully we're getting it right. Rotorua. But yeah, hopefully it is really interesting that they're having so much activity. And it seems to be, why is it just a big craze in the area where everybody's looking? That doesn't seem to make sense because you don't, it's not like whole towns typically get real excited about something like that.
Yeah. Well, and as I mentioned to you, Alejandro, that when the Daily Post has been posting these stories, along with the stories of the sightings, they posted a poll that asked their readers, do you believe in aliens? And 80% have responded, yes, they believe in aliens, which is great. And I know you and I have talked about this, and that's probably true here too, but I don't know if those numbers would come through if you talk to people in person. Certainly an online poll that's kind of secret, but I know when you talk to people in person, they're not so quick to admit that they accept the idea that extraterrestrial life is out there.
Especially if they're in a group of people.
Right.
They don't want their friends to know necessarily.
Right. The default response is to laugh it off and wait and see
And
what other people respond.
Yeah. And it's always good to break that down, do you believe in extraterrestrials, and then do you believe that, UFOs are extraterrestrial? That's always interesting because...
And then again, the other one they like to throw in there is, do you believe extraterrestrials are here, have visited Earth, or are here now?
Because the numbers vary, and that's the one I get really interested in.
Right. We saw a recent poll. There are polls all the time, but we saw a recent one that had fairly high numbers for people feeling that extraterrestrials are here with us now.
Yeah.
And I don't remember what that was.
Me either.
Well, exciting. All right.
Very much.
On to Costa Rica. A tour guide captured a video of what could be a UFO either above or on top of a volcano in Costa Rica. The tour guide saw a shiny reflection coming from the top of the Arenal volcano, something he's never seen before. So he took out his camera to record video of the strange occurrence. It's possible that the reflection was from a person on top of the volcano, but as Inside Costa Rica points out, climbing the Arenal volcano is illegal, and it's surrounded by a national park with restricted access. This video was shown on the local news and is currently being analyzed.
Yeah, and whatever it is, it's on the rim up there.
It looks like it's on the rim.
Yeah.
It's possible it could be floating behind it, but it's probably on top, right on the rim.
Yeah. So, something big and reflective up there. It's interesting.
It is interesting. And the individual who took this video works for Caravan Tours, which is a very large tour company in Costa Rica. I'm, in fact, going to be using them later this year for a Costa Rica trip.
Cool.
They're very, very popular. They do lots and lots of tours consistently. So I don't know how long this guy has worked for Caravan Tours, but he's there all the time.
Yeah,
and
the story said he's there all the time. Yeah, and had never seen that.
Right. So it's an interesting one, and I don't know if UFOs are attracted to volcanoes or not, but we have another UFO volcano story. Many witnesses observed strange lights and objects above a volcano in Chile as it erupted on June 5th. One witness managed to capture a photo of a UFO above the erupting volcano. Other photos and videos were allegedly taken, but according to eltiempo.com, experts have yet to authenticate this evidence. And that one was actually an object in the air, in the sky, sort of to the side of a UFO as it was erupting, or as a volcano was erupting.
Yeah, I know in Mexico, supposedly they've gotten videos of UFOs near volcanoes, but it does seem to be somewhat of a popular thing.
Interesting.
Yeah, maybe they like the warmth. Space is cold. They're warming up next to a warm volcano.
Well, and it could be, again, there could be lots of explanations, but certain things tend themselves to have higher photos and videos of UFOs. Like, there are lots of UFO sightings around the 4th of July. And while that could be because there are a lot of fireworks in the sky, it could also be that more people are looking up to the sky at that point.
To that point.
So with volcanoes, more people are watching an erupting volcano.
There's lots of live cams on volcanoes, too.
Right.
And that's where people get UFO videos often. So that would make a lot of sense that there's cameras on volcanoes a lot. That's why we get them so much.
Right. Well, I have another story. I get excited when I hear things like this, but a professor at Penn State is searching for Earth-like planets and is optimistic about finding a planet or planets out there capable of sustaining life. Jim Casting is a distinguished professor of geosciences in Penn State's College of Earth and Mineral Sciences and is an expert in atmospheric evolution. Before joining Penn State, Casting was a research scientist at NASA's Ames Research Center, and he has become one of the foremost experts on planetary habitable zones. He even wrote a book called How to Find a Habitable Planet. Casting says that lack of funding is a big obstacle in the search for extraterrestrial life. He recently told Penn State Live, "What hurt our funding is the previous administration's interest in putting men back on the moon and trying to send them to Mars. Also, right now, a lot of astronomers are more interested in researching the Big Bang and dark energy as well as gravitational waves. We need to convince more of them to be interested in planets and the search for extraterrestrial life." Casting is just one professor in a growing trend of university scientists searching for habitable planets and extraterrestrial life.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of like, I wonder if that's going to be a major soon. I mean, it's like you could go to any university and you can study extraterrestrial life and how to discover extraterrestrial life. It's becoming so popular.
Extremely popular. I've actually had conversations with people recently who I just met, and when they find out what I do, they say, "Oh, our daughter is thinking of going into astrobiology."
Really?
So, wow. And astrobiology, as we've talked about, really in mainstream universities, it is a new field.
Yeah.
And ASU, Arizona State, here in our hometown, happens to be at the forefront of this. But I think you're right. I think astrobiology and these other scientific fields of looking for extraterrestrial life is going to become quite common.
Which is exciting. And I mean, of course, manned space flight is very exciting. But searching for extraterrestrial life doesn't necessarily mean you need manned space flights. It's probably easier with robots and rovers and things like that. And if we focused on, for instance, looking for life on Mars or the moon, going to those places where there's water or more likelihood of it, who knows? Maybe that would be more fruitful. And it's always, of course, exciting to think about what'll happen when that happens. But it's, I think also we heard from Nick Pope, who was at the Royal Society of Science, when they had their astrobiology conference, and how, up on stage or in public, these guys don't want to acknowledge that they have anything to do with UFOs or think about UFOs or have any opinion. But behind the scenes, when he went to dinner with them, when he enjoyed a pint at the pub, they were willing to say that, yeah, we're into UFOs and we follow that stuff. And he was surprised, he said, at how many of these scientists really knew a lot about UFO research and UFOs.
That's why I love seeing these professors at these universities where that is their main focus. And it's known that that's their main focus. They talk about it, they write books about it, and then it becomes more accepted.
Maybe there'll be secret UFO societies where they can get together and talk UFOs, but they, take a pledge not to share who believes in what.
That already exists, my friend.
Oh, my gosh.
And Alejandro, we'll get to the last story for today. A 30-year-old one farmer claims to have been hospitalized after an encounter with a UFO in Manipur, India. The Assam Tribune reports that the alleged incident took place on the afternoon of June 15th, and according to the witness, he was shooting video of a fish farm with his cell phone when he suddenly saw the UFO in the sky. He claims that the UFO sped towards him, resulting in an electric shock that rendered him unconscious. After regaining consciousness, he returned home. His family took him to the hospital where he was treated and released the same day. But in the article published by the Assam Tribune yesterday, the witness said he had not fully recovered from his UFO encounter yet. Critics of the video footage suggest the UFO was nothing more than a glitch in the camera resulting from shooting directly into the sun. However, there's been no official explanation for the UFO or for the physical reaction claimed by the witness.
What do you think? We've seen that glitch of the sun a lot. And if you were to go out there, people, and video the sun, it happens a lot. You get a dark spot in the middle of the sun, and a lot of people think that's UFOs, but it's not. It's a defect of the camera.
Right, and that's certainly more likely to happen with, a lower quality phone, because that is a lower quality camera.
Did it look like he was shooting at the sun, though? I remember looking at this, and I don't remember thinking, oh, he's shooting right at the sun.
It's difficult to tell from the video that we saw because it's so cut together and weird. There's some interview with the guy, and so it's hard to tell. It really didn't look like direct into the sun, but unsure.
Yeah, and then he gets sick.
Yeah, interesting reaction. He apparently fell back and knocked himself out.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Be careful.
Yep, be careful when you're shooting UFOs. I know it's difficult because you get really excited and the adrenaline gets going, but I guess it's hard not to pass out if the UFO zooms at you.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Always practice safe UFO hunting.
Safe UFOing.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, that is it for the news for today, Alejandro. Be sure to check out these stories and more at openminds.tv, your source for UFO-related news. I'm Jason McClellan, your Open Minds news correspondent, and you've been briefed.